So I ordered a wiper conversion kit from Mill Supply, and I had it delivered general delivery to where I am in Cranbrook, since I don't yet have an address where I can receive mail. And this is to fix the problem with my windshield wipers. One of them, the one that worked, the driver's side, stopped working about a month ago, and the one side on the passenger side, that was never even connected. That's not worked since I bought the vehicle. Basically, the wiper linkages that I have right now were completely shot, and they don't make them anymore. The only ones that they do make for my model of Grimm & Olsen are the ones from above the window, so I have to convert it to have the wipers above the windshield.
Well, I've got the box here. Hopefully all the pieces are in and the instructions are clear.
So what they've done is crumpled up all the instructions and templates and used them to pack the parts. So anything that I find in here I can't just throw away. So I've pulled everything out here, and everything that I can see makes sense. We've got the pivot shafts and the linkages and harness and all that stuff. So what I'm going to now figure out is where I need to drill the holes. That's what this template is for. So this is the template for the drill holes. These two main holes here are an 11/16 bit. So I had to go out and buy one. This cost me 30 bucks. The guy at the store tried to sell me one that cost 80, but he went in the back and found that one. So I should now figure out the exact steps for drilling these holes. Depending on how long your wiper arm is, that's where you cut on this template. So I've measured my wiper arm, and I have a 20-inch wiper arm. So that's where I'm going to cut. I taped the template in place and drilled all the 3/16 holes, then ran into an issue. And here's a problem. So my drill only has a 3/4 inch chuck, so it wouldn't actually fit the 1/2 inch round base of the drill bit. So I went out and I bought two wood drill bits, and I just used those to cut through the aluminum soft, and I didn't mind ruining a drill bit that cost $6 rather than buying a new drill. Once the holes were drilled, I was then able to install new pivot shafts which came with the kit. These are what are going to hold the windshield wipers. The next step was to remove the existing hardware that includes the old pivot shafts and the motor from underneath the dash. The pivot shafts, I actually had to end up chiseling out some of the screws that were holding them in place. They were that rusted.
Well, I finally got this unmounted from that bracket right there. This was really, really hard to get off, and I had to take apart a lot of, like, this whole thing here is ducting for the fan, which is in pieces over there. All that just to get this bloody motor out.
After all that arduous work, I was able to assemble the mounting bracket, as well as mount the motor and attach the linkages in the proper manner. I then cleared everything out of the shelf that's above the dash, so that I would be able to mount this in place. Unfortunately, it needs to be mounted right where the wooden shelf is, so I took the back brace off, removed the speakers and the blinds that were hanging from it, and then I cut a hole so that this mounting bracket would be able to fit through and underneath. I then connected the harness, which connects the old connections, with the new position of the motor, and I ran this up this aluminum channel, which used to be covered in tape, and I also accompanied that with the speaker wires, and then I went over that with black duct tape to sort of give it a cleaner look. I then went about reattaching the blinds. Unfortunately, the position of one of the undershelf speakers prevented me from attaching the passenger side windshield blind, but I'll get to that, moving that speaker and installing that later. So the next day I actually went ahead and installed the windshield wipers for real, but with them in place I went ahead and used the grommets that they gave me to fill the old holes where they used to be. And then there were a few places where I had to knock out those screws, which just didn't have any way to fill them. So I have some red body filler that I used to fill that. And then any areas which I felt needed it, I went over with clear silicone specifically around the pivot shafts. There's one thing left undone for now, and that is to actually hook up the wiper fluid. It's just those little tubes next to the black grommets. That's all it is. So when you press it, they just sort of spurt up, and if you're driving fast enough, it might hit the windshield. That's a project for a later date. It's not pressing. It's really funky looking. They're not really in sync. One's up and one's down. It's just the way that the linkages work. Like if there was a longer one that you connected to a different spot, I can see how it would work to get them in sync. But it doesn't work that way. So They look a little funny, but they do work. I've needed this for a long time. It's a good thing that I got this before it started snowing and raining really heavily, and it's just one of these fixes that I've been holding off on doing while the driver's side worked. And as soon as that went out, I realized just how important that is. I've had to drive in the rain a few times without it, and it's not safe. Visibility is really important. So this was a big improvement that needed to be made. Alright, so that's all for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.